Hey, what's up, everybody? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rap Sparza. Very excited to chat with you guys here today. Today, I'm going to interview somebody who has very quickly become not only a friend of the show, but has excellent memes. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can add him to our broadcast as we speak. But great things. And if I'm to believe what I read on here, he also shares my name. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from JiuJitzMemes, the other Rafael.
Hello, the other Rafael. We both have the same name, which is like crazy because I have a good name. So I'm Rafael Santiago the fourth.
Oh, okay.
What about you?
Well, nah. So my mom put a hard stop to my dad. My dad's Ralph. Ralph is
Yes.
and she saw that, and she saw that he wanted a junior. And she goes, under no circumstances am I birthing a junior. And so she goes, especially not one named Ralph. So they settled on the Spanish version, which was Rafael.
There you go. There, listen. I'm assuming your dad's Hispanic as well?
Yeah, so we're all brown. You know, we got the full Hispanic Mexicanness in us. What about you?
100% Puerto Rican from the Bronx. I'm as basic as it gets.
It's not as basic as it gets. It's more so just, hey, listen, kid, I'm not going to be around you when we roll and not try and check if you got knives or anything like that.
Just have a few knives.
I believe that. And you know what? It's probably why you work so well with kids, which you'll be doing after this.
Yes.
So, Rafael, let me ask a couple questions. First and foremost, where does the gentle art find its way to you, sir?
So I was in college and I dropped out. I was listening to Joe Rogan. There was like a kickboxing gym by me and I could never afford to do it. And then my friend did MMA. He did a couple fights. He's like, oh, why don't you try Renzo Gracie Middletown? So my first instructor was the first guy to beat Anderson Silva, which was pretty cool. And I remember him with this like hardcore Brazilian accent. He's like, okay, guys, today we're going to learn how to do that omoplata. And I'm like, holy shit, like, this is fucking awesome because I wrestled a little bit. So I always like the groundwork. And then I sucked at MMA and I was like, I think I like this jiu-jitsu stuff. So I kept sticking with it.
Good for you, man. So you were Joe Rogan all day by night, every day.
Essentially.
What was it that spoke to you? Because there's a lot of shit that Joe says and you have a lot to process in those 3 hours on any given episode. But what was it that was compelling you that you said, like, all right, cool, it's cool that they're talking about it, but what makes you want to go and try it yourself?
So, man, I always have like big dreams and goals. So like, I think that kind of just reflects the fitness background. Like I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to win the Mr. Olympia. So that's why I was so hardcore into bodybuilding. And then I realized I couldn't gain weight. It was just too hard for me. My stomach couldn't handle it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to be the Spartan race guy. I'm going to run all these Spartan races. And I did a lot of them, but I just wasn't too quick enough. So I was like, man, like I just don't have the physical attributes to this. And then I listened to this Joe Rogan talk about like jiu-jitsu and like tournaments and whatnot. I'm like, man, like I just tried. Like this is my calling. This must make sense on like why I'm so happy. And I kept doing it. So yeah, that was the motivation just because I just felt good doing it.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear it. I mean, obviously you made the right choice because you fit the industry very well. So do you remember your first class? Do you have vivid memories of that first interaction you had with jiu-jitsu?
Like my first pure jiu-jitsu class, I don't really remember, but I did like an MMA styled class. So it was like a little different. So it was like MMA jiu-jitsu. So you had like the gloves on and whatnot. So it was like jits with hits. Yeah, I remember like basically like we started off like it was first Muay Thai and then it was MMA. So we did the Muay Thai class and it was cool because it was just kind of like actually it was actually more boxing that day. So like I said, I really wanted to fight, and then eventually it was we did a little bit of jiu-jitsu. So I wrestled in the past, so I kind of had like a decent idea of what was going on, but we didn't do too much. And then jiu-jitsu wise, I remember I went into a class and there was probably this girl. She was like 15 years old. She was probably like similar to my size. And I didn't know that you could choke someone out with like the lapels. So I'm like getting choked. I'm like, what is going on? Like, how is she choking me out? And she's not even squeezing my neck or anything. That's kind of like my first like memory of jiu-jitsu.
Okay. Okay, so then how do you fall in love with it? Because it's one thing to show up, it's one thing to have like these big ambitions and goals, but it's another to start thinking like, man, I want to do a career that's going to send me into the meme making business because it's an interesting world that we live in. But like, what was the
Absolutely.
compelling argument? Like, when do you remember actually falling in love with it?
I think I loved it initially. Like initially, I was like, "All right, I want to be a world champ at this." Like I didn't even know what that means. I didn't know who like Gordon Ryan was or anything. But so there was actually a gym that opened up in my hometown. So I was traveling like 45 minutes, and it was just kind of too much. Like I can only make it 3 times a week. And this guy named Dave Maver, he opened up a gym in my hometown, like 5 minutes down the road, like Henzo Gracie Warwick. I'm actually wearing the rash guard right now. And my friend, I was like, "Hey man, like why don't you try out the gym that we're at now?" He might be moving to the place I was going to in Middletown, and he tried it out. He liked it. I'm like, "Yo, don't sign up yet because there's one in Warwick. I know you said you might be moving out here, but just try it out just in case you might stay." And he's like, "Man, dude, it was such a fucking awesome time. They do wrestling there." And when they said, "Oh man, they do like stand up there," like because they didn't really do a lot of stand up at the original gym I was at, I'm like, "Man, I want to learn that style of jiu-jitsu. I feel like having a wrestling background to be more functional." So I went, I tried out a class. I didn't join yet. And then I joined 2 months later just because my contract was up. And my coach was like, "All right, like you're going to compete in 2 months." Like I've never been asked to compete before. So I'm like, holy shit, like this is crazy. So I won my first match. I was like super like lucky with that. I choked this kid out in like 40 seconds. I took his back. But yeah, ever since I joined the gym I'm at now, like my coach is just super passionate about it, and he always pushes me. So I think having the right coach, right professor is really what kind of driven me to like fall in love with jujitsu because like I liked it a lot before, and I saw myself doing it for a long time, but just having the right coach, the right environment, really kind of pushed me to that next step.
That's awesome, man. And congrats on your first win on that very first day, even though it's probably years far too late. I would
Thank
still
you.
like to say it is still impressive because not everybody wins their first time, especially in jiu-jitsu. You know, you hear all these different horror stories of like, I went 10 weeks without a win. I didn't
Oof.
get a win until blah, blah, blah. And you just like show up and you're like, oh, I guess I'm good at this. Oops.
This kid tried to throw me, and then I took his back, and then I don't even know how I don't even know if I knew how to properly do a choke at the time, but I got it in for sure, so I was happy about that.
That's great. And I mean, the nice part about that is that you won't
I'll say
know
it.
now. Are you okay? Oh, you have it.
Oh yeah, of course I have it.
Oh my goodness.
Dude,
Oh,
I was like an active competitor for a while. Look at all these things.
oh my God. Look at that. That holds reverence with basically all of your HDMI cables and your connecting accessories. I would like to know this because we'll get to you as a memer. I think you're very funny. I think you do some good work. But I want to emphasize this area. You talked about you wrestled a little bit. So I'd like to know about that. And I'd like to know if you were doing other kind of sports as you were growing up.
I was like, oh my god! I wrestled my first time when I was in like 10th grade. So the two kids that I wrestled with, or maybe three, all won sections, and then one got fourth in states. So basically, I was like their practice dummy. I would get the shit beat out of me every single day for like 6 months. I won like 4 matches. Um, I was terrible. I probably lost like 16 plus matches. I was like one of the worst wrestlers, but I did get better as time went along. So I wrestled 96 pounds. So I was like super, super small. And I didn't see myself going back the next year. I was just too nervous. Like my grades sucked. It was just a terrible time. So I quit wrestling after that year. But I always fell in love with it. I always fell in love with the grind. So after like wrestling, I started getting more into weightlifting. But in my mind, I was like, man, I'm a wrestler. I'm a wrestler. I just never got rid of that mindset. I just couldn't go back to it because it just kind of ruined my life for like that short period of time. I played baseball. Basketball was terrible at. Like being 5'2" is like not a good thing to do when you're playing basketball. I played soccer. I was relatively like okay. Like I started sports late, so I always sucked in the beginning. But if I was really consistent with them, I did really well. Like jujitsu is the best thing I'm at, just because I stood so consistent with it.
That makes sense. And I'm glad to hear that. So you touched a little bit of everything. So doing all of those sports, and obviously you're going to play soccer because Brown. And if you don't touch soccer, then you do get disowned. So, good to know. So now that you start doing this, and I'm glad that you decided not to go the MMA route because punching to the face, not necessary.
Oh yeah, definitely a rough life.
But When do you start actually doing memes? Like, at what point do you start saying, like, oh, there's a little place here? Because I'd like to know if you're doing a little bit more of the personal training before that happens, or if it happens maybe a little bit after that.
So I've actually been making memes for like, how old am I? I'm 26 now. I've been making memes for like 10 years probably. So I used to run a meme account on Tumblr. So I used to have like maybe like 500,000 followers in total. So I used to have like 2 blogs. And we had one blog I started with a group of like 10 people who had like probably 50K, 100K, 200K followers. I'm like, yo, why don't we just start a big page and we all just like post on the same page and like we'll just grow it together. They got like 50K in like 2 weeks, 50,000 followers in 2 weeks, which is like massively impressive. That fell apart, but my regular page probably had, I think, 247,000 followers. I forgot what it was like in total. And I sucked at making memes at first. So on Tumblr, you just kind of repost people's stuff. And then eventually I'd have like my own original content. With jiu-jitsu, like I quit doing social media. So just to do personal training, because what happened is that was my job at the time. Like I was making money making memes on the internet, and I was like, man, I have no social skills. Like I don't know how to talk to people. I'm like super shy, but I love working out, and personal training is good for like marketing and sales. So let me get into personal training so I can learn how to talk to people. And I did that for about 5-6 years. I worked in a gym. I taught like group classes, like TRX, kettlebell, functional training, and whatnot. Eventually, I just didn't like the money. I didn't like the hours. Like I got into jujitsu at the same time as I was probably almost ending my personal training career, and I'm like, man, I don't care. I don't want to wake up at 6 a.m. to train someone like at 7 or 5 a.m. and train someone at 6. I want to train jujitsu as much as I can. Like this is what I'm passionate about. This is what's making me happy. And I don't know if it was like reasonable. I'm like, man, maybe I just need to get like a regular job, and like maybe I won't be able to train jujitsu every day. But eventually I got so into like, I was like, you know what? I want to make this my life. And I quit my job. I do marketing now. I don't do personal training anymore. And I make memes on the side. So hopefully I can do something. I want to have a voice. I want to have a voice in the jiu-jitsu world. And I think I'm slowly doing that on social media.
No, you definitely built, and I know that a lot of the things that you probably did on that previous Tumblr page, you've applied very well. And I always notice I have a lot of friends who send me their favorite memes.
Yes.
So somebody said I'm seeing double. Yes, we both have glasses. And
both named Rafael.
Yeah, but this is more like the movie Frequency, where because I'm so much older than you, I'm telling you things from the future.
Maybe you are the future me.
The future you, I can tell you just meme more. Nothing really changes. A little more jiu-jitsu, your technique gets a little less shitty. But what I can tell you, though, is that you applied a lot of those practices, because a lot of the people who, when I'm not even asking for them, they'll send me memes and they'll be like, oh, have you seen this one? I was like, yeah, I know this kid. He's good. And they're like, yeah, this is funny. I was like, cool, never send me another meme that's not mine. But I like your approach. I think, some of the best people in the memeing world in our sphere,
yes.
small as it is that, you get Drew, you've got Happy, you've got some of these guys who just do their own fields. And I think the most important thing to notice is there's a difference between just being funny and being an outright dick. And I think that you write a nice line of nonsense to what you do that makes me go, oh, cool, that's the outside track. Good for him. So I've been very impressed with what you've been doing so far. And I think that there's a lot of good stuff that you've done. Where I do take umbrage with you, and this is where I guess our paths kind of really intersect, is before I was a fan and I said, oh, these are funny. And then I saw you with Nicky Rod, and I saw you start posing like a flex. Like, I don't know how to explain this to other people. And maybe if you're listening to the audio version of this, you kind of maybe can't see what I'm doing, so I'll describe it as best I can. But people who do like the double arm flex are either bodybuilders or 5 years old. Now, we in our sport allow athletes to do it, even though it just looks silly as shit. Like, you take it out of context, people look really, really weird. And here I see you doing it with him. So I look at it and I go, this kid's a little too jacked to be doing what we do. I don't know if he gets this. Has he seen the way all the rest of us look? So all these admin reveals, you do that to us. We are not flexing, double flexing with Nicky Rod. So how did that come to be?
So I met I met Nicky Rod probably like 2 months prior, 3 months prior. I've seen him a couple times in person just because I live in New York and he was from Jersey and before he moved to Texas to train with B Team. So we actually have another photo together of me doing this of like us probably our arms around each other and are just showing off our biceps. And everyone in like my gym's like, man, like your biceps almost as close to like the same size as him. So then my coach is like, all right, we're having a seminar, but we're not telling you who it is until Christmas Day. Like this is like his Christmas Day thing. He did the same thing like maybe 2 years before, and we had Gary Tonin come by. So Nick Rodriguez comes by, and like it's the end of the seminar, and everyone's doing photos. So I'm about to do a photo with him. I'm like, wait. Like I got to take off my shirt. So then I took off my shirt. I don't think he took off his shirt in that photo, but if you see for the rest of the class, like anybody who was in like a photo with Nick Rodriguez, everyone's shirtless, flexing with Nick Rodriguez. So, I mean, he's like, I know he was into bodybuilding. He's from New Jersey, which is a huge like bodybuilding state. Um, so I was like, man, like this is gonna be pretty cool. Like I'm gonna see if I can try to like out angle Nick Rodriguez. Like he's way bigger than me, but listen, I do bodybuilding. I have like portions. Like it'd be a pretty cool photo. But honestly, it was just like all for fun. Like I've always been into bodybuilding. He has too. Like I made a meme about him recently talking about bodybuilding. So yeah, that was kind of just really it. Nothing too crazy into it. That's pretty much it. I don't know what else to say about it. I just
But again,
out.
I think you're glossing over the fact, and you can speak candidly here because we're amongst friends.
Yes.
You've seen the other meme makers, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my thing is like, I try not to look at other memes too much because then
That's
I don't want to steal their ideas. Like I'll look at a meme like, fuck, like if I look at that meme, I'm just gonna steal that idea and redo it. So I try not to, but I know what like generally they look like. Yeah, I don't know if
yeah.
there's any other like.
I understand
It's
you're saying
jiu-jitsu.
that
Are they
too.
jacked?
No, they're not, and I understand you're saying this to be legally not responsible for anything in the meme world. But I will tell you this right now. So I think this is how you can tell I've been doing this forever. We've done memes and we throw them in with our episodes and all that stuff. And we do it for funsies because every once in a while I'm on a joke and I just go, I got to put this one out. And a lot of times we joke about the people that we love, but we have a pretty extensive Rolodex of people that we've interviewed over the years. I have a big policy, which is I don't do jokes about people that I wouldn't do to their face. So as a result, I don't remember other people putting their faces on their memes in jiu-jitsu before I was, because I was like, y'all know who I am. Like everybody who watches these things or sees me out interviewing people, I'm like, it's not going to be a secret. So anytime I did a meme, I was like, here it is. Now we've seen more of them be like, hey, I've got a brand. This is who I am. And they get in front of the camera. I'll just be frank with you. Tony does not have that physique.
Who is Tony?
Tony has happy memes.
Happy
Drew,
rolling?
yes, happy rolling BJJ. Drew, because jiu-jitsu, love him. He falls into the skinny category, so he could get away with looking a little more buff than he is. Does not have that physique. And then I'll just leave it at Jit Sticks for sure, does not. So those are just a small sampling of the people. But then here you come, all 5'2" of you, and then you decide to embrace it, and then you start putting up memes with votes. And I put up my own votes, and my audience said you need to turn in your meme badge. So I hope
vote for what?
We were voting if we're not allowing you to meme. And the votes came back very positive. I had one person, though, and again, because I don't like to do super mean humor, they came in and they just go like, yo, that kid needs to get even more strong. He looks small. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, this is not the point of the poll. The poll is not to say, like, this kid's not shredded enough. This poll is to say, like, compare him to me. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, he looks better than you. And I go, okay, well, there we go.
Do you look the best?
Well, yes, of course. But I would say this, kid, is that what you're doing with that stuff is very interesting. Have you gotten any pushback from people in terms of your memes? Because I don't take offense to anything. You know, I have a pretty open book policy, which is if you're going to meme me, it better be funny. But I'm the first to laugh, but I also know that the people can be very sensitive about their favorite athletes and personalities.
Usually so I made a meme today, and usually I ask people before I post it, just in case like they get like upset or they don't want to really kind of like have that kind of attention. But the one that really like that got people going crazy was the Karma RX one, if you're familiar who that is. So I made this meme about this porn star, and like my perspective is like, I don't care what you do, like as long as it's not hurting people, like I don't care. I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny that she followed me. I'm like, yo, who is this? Like, I don't know who this is. And then people are like, yo, you know who that is? I'm like, nah, I really don't know who this is. They're like, oh, like she's like a top porn star. I'm like, all right, like that's cool. She does jujitsu. They're like, yeah. I'm like, I probably should meme her. Like that'd be fucking hilarious. Like, and then this one girl, I don't want to say her name because then if they like watch this, they're just gonna take shit out of context. But there's one girl from Gracie, Tampa South named Erin Harp decided to comment on my meme, and she's like, "Yo, this is crazy! Like, you're causing like rapists and pedophiles to like get more involved in jujitsu." I'm like, no, like if they want us to get more involved in jujitsu, like they're gonna get involved in jujitsu. I can't stop that. Like that has nothing to do with me. That's not this girl's fault. She's not promoting that. Like, listen, if you want to get into psychology of things, like go for it. But like, I'm not. That's not my goal here, and that's definitely not what I'm doing. That was the only pushback I've gotten. Like maybe the worst thing is when people explain memes. Like I don't want to say I hate when people explain memes, but sometimes it's like, why the fuck are you explaining this meme? Like like it's a joke. It's not really real. Tom the Blast did it to me the other day. I was like, oh man, like, cause I like Tom the Blast, but he comments, he's like, not to be that guy. I'm like, all right, like, I'm not upset about that at all. Like, whatever, it's just like Tom, but like, man, like, that's probably the only pushback I get because I post a lot of positive memes. Like, people make fun of like Gabby Garcia is like one of the biggest ones. They make fun of her all the time. I'm like, man, you can't make fun of Gabby Garcia. Like, she's not a bad person. I don't care what you think about her, but how are you gonna publicly say something like that online? Like, that's super rude. You would never say that to her face. So if I can't say something to somebody's face, like you said before, like I wouldn't post it. Like I want to have a lot of positive memes. I post a lot of memes about girls, but I always make sure it's like in a positive sense. And I'll ask them before, I'm like, hey, can I post this? Like, do you want that kind of attention? And then if they say yes, which they normally do, I don't think I've ever had anybody say, no, I don't want this to be meme. So
They
I
will.
think people like the attention.
At some point, they will. But you know what the worst part is? I think the hardest decision you have to make is when they say no. You look at them and you go, "Oh, but I think it's funny. I was doing this as a formality." Okay. I can tell you this: the hardest thing about having a standard like that is that usually you are the one beholding yourself to it. And I've told people over the years, I'm like, I don't think we do really aggressive memes. I think we're pretty nice to people. But I also, as that policy goes, I also really don't censor myself on doing that. I go, you can like us, you guys can get off the train anytime you want. And people have. We've had people come and go, and I tell people, I'm like, it's a way of how people view you at a certain point. It's perfectly fine. It's feedback. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to play to your emotions, because a lot of people who do love this sport are emotionally invested in these athletes to the point where if I'm making fun of Gary Tonin and they're like, man, that's not cool. And I'm like, who do you think's laughing hardest at this? Who do you think is texting me? Like, I know these people. Like, now we've done the show for long enough where, when I message some of the guys, because if I feel like it's a little bit on the iffy side, I'll be like, what, let me see what they think. And, I get more often people who I haven't met where we're about to meme and they go, please, it would be an honor. And I'm like, no, it's not an honor. It's not that big of a deal. It's just, I just want to make sure you're cool. And they're like, no, we're fans. And I go, oh, okay. I just don't want to assume that ever. So I can understand, especially as your page gets bigger and bigger, you're going to have more and more people who are probably going to be out there thinking like, man, when is he going to get around to me? This dick hasn't even remotely tried to roast me once.
I always put on my stories. I'm like, hey, do you guys want to become a meme or not? And I feel like sometimes I get asked this, sometimes like no one really says no. Like who's gonna say no to that? They'll probably just skip over it. But yeah, I always I want to be to a point where like it sucks now because I have like probably 100 like message requests and if you go to your message requests, sometimes they don't pop up. Like you won't even see them at all. So I have like a question from like months ago. I'm like, man, I can't believe I didn't answer this question. I also want to always be able to talk to people like no matter how big the page gets. Like I don't care like how big that page gets. Like I'm always going to be able to talk to people and meme everybody. Like I don't know what the page is going to turn into, but I feel like just like a lot of positive vibes from it.
So maybe you're getting ahead of me on this. Where do you kind of envision this going then? Because you mentioned that you're somebody who usually has big plans, big ambitions, big goals. Are you envisioning taking this page, man? What is in the future for you on this?
I mean, just having a voice in jiu-jitsu. I mean, I think eventually, like, I'm gonna go back into competing, so I'm definitely gonna use that to bring up a lot of just like my competition. I feel like I'll have some pretty cool clips. I might be doing worlds this year, so if I'm able to use this as a platform to kind of just shout out my jiu-jitsu, it's gonna be great. And just commentating. I think I want to get into commentating. I think it's pretty cool. I kind of do a little bit of like I've made videos. I've done social media for such a long time, and then I think that's kind of a goal for mine, just to understand jiu-jitsu to a point where I'm able to explain it to people while it's going on. And then who knows, maybe get into like MMA commentating. But definitely to compete, definitely to keep growing this page, definitely to use it as a brand. I do sell hoodies. I don't really push them as much. I don't really push them online, but I'll definitely try to get that going again. Like I'm not really trying to make a ton of money with it, like the hoodies, but figure out to definitely how to make some financial gains from this would be good. But just definitely to give the value to people. Like I'm pretty happy at the end of the day if I know I made a couple 100,000 people laugh. I think that's pretty cool.
So you said one word that is quite triggering to me.
Yes.
And that one word is commentary. So I'm going to tell you this right now. There's really only room for one Rafael to do commentary. So I'm not a violent person, but I will use violent means to stay as the one Rafael that does commentary, sir.
It's nice being the only Rafael. I'm sure I'm not sure how your situation in California is, but in New York, there's no other Rafaels in my gym. So I'm sure they call you Raf, but I own the title Raf too, man. So we might have to fight for it.
It's fine. It's fine. The nice part is that I know that you're somebody who you're a blue belt. So there are certain techniques I'm not allowed to do to you still.
What techniques are you talking about?
We're not supposed to, the rules, man. You're not supposed to heel hook a blue belt, even though you're the one out there teaching. I've been heel hooking
since I've been a white belt.
Hey, listen, kid. I like that one. I think we're getting to that.
Guys, connection. I have my connection. I think it's your connection. No? Is it your connection?
No, I've looked good. In fact, one comment that I didn't read from the previous stream was somebody saying, like, yo, get this JiuJitzMemes some better internet.
I know, I got that Walmart connection.
Better internet. Got the Walmart package.
Dude, I got the nicest router in the world. Look at this shit. I just got this, like, not too long ago. Got that mesh system, whatnot. It's like it's $400 on it.
Okay, well, kid, it's not a competition. We're not asking. Oh, look at that 4 strikes. Oh, shit.
You're probably strikes. Pretty soon.
But here's the reason why I tell you this is that you're not equally adept. You know things about jiu-jitsu, but as I mentioned previously, I will lie, I will cheat, I will steal. I am way more apt to using foreign objects because I know more of the pro wrestling side. And even though you're memeing some of these pro wrestling things, I can already get it out of you. You're a casual fan. You don't get to use the pro wrestling.
Dude, I don't know anything about pro wrestling. I know zero about pro wrestling. I'm not a dude. I know nothing. I know what is that? I need an RKO is, that's just because of that one move, and that's not even an RKO or whatever people call it.
Yeah.
And a DDT. Mason, I know what a DDT is.
Those are important ones to know. Yeah, Mason caused a little bit of stir because he put up a post where somebody goes, "Oh, look." Mason Fowler. Mason Fowler put up a post where he goes, "Look at this guy hitting a stone cold stunner," and we were like, "No, Mason, that's an RKO. How foolish of you!" So we definitely gave him shit about that.
I'm seeing Mason tonight.
Are you seeing him tonight? Is he out your way?
Yeah, he's my way. He's like an hour. He's an hour away.
Oh, good on him, dude. I literally just messaged him. We're trying to get him out for a seminar if he's available. Well, tell him I say hello and that he's a piece of shit.
I will tell him that.
He will definitely know it's me if I said those following words.
The other Rafael said you're a piece of shit.
The other Rafael. I'll let you know this. When I first showed up in an event, I used to compete in speech and debate a long, long time ago. When I used to do that, there was a guy who was there before me. His name was also Rafael. And when I showed up, he pulled me aside, and because he was there first, he's like, "Number 2." And I go, "Don't refer to me as number 2. I will
Always number 1.
And he, he was very successful. He did a lot of really good things. And now he's killing it out in entertainment. We both are out in LA, and he does a lot of stuff in entertainment as well. And dude, he's doing so well that I'm always like, shit, dude, I need to beat this fool just based on number 1 status. So now that you're new onto the scene, lower ranked for now, I will refer to you as number 2, but with love and affection.
I'll take it. I'll take number 2. This only one time.
Well, do you plan to do, are you ever going to get back out to LA at any point?
I've never even been to LA. I mean, I wish ADCC was in California, but I will be going, the closest I'll get to California is probably Las Vegas and ADCC. Are you going to ADCC?
I probably won't go to ADCC. So we usually do Fight Companions, and we've had very solid success over the years whenever those are going live. We do it because, 1, they didn't credential me. 2, this was after they asked me to commentate ADCC and then didn't credential me and then said, oops, we're sorry. It happens. But I think the weirder part is this. Flo does an excellent job at a surface level broadcast, but I work in TV. And when I watch what they do, I realize there is a missing component of fun. Like, it's dumb. They do a very regular presentation, and even that is kind of So we always do a Fight Companion where I drink on camera. I invite friends. We get correspondents to come on. We know some of the athletes, so sometimes we can pull an interview right then and there by sending them like a Zoom link. But we do an actual show. So, we've, over the years, it started almost like it's a radio. That's how long I've been doing this. We used to do just an audio component, I think back in 2015, just because I wanted to do something live and commentate. And we noticed we had a few thousand people listening in. And I said, okay, there's people here. That's pretty cool. The next year we did Fight Companion where it was a visual component. And we did it at my buddy's place. And we brought in we had super fights. We did a whole, because it was at that point super late at night. So it was us staying up super late into the morning and doing a marathon broadcast. So it's become like a signature piece to the point now where we do them for all the UFCs and we do them for all the major grappling events. But it's honestly like nobody else really does it. And if they do it, they don't really do it this way. So it's something that we feel is unique to our brand.
No, that's awesome. I only know one other person who does like a Fight Companion. His name is Liam Picks Fights. I'm not sure if you're familiar. He does it with some other big names, but he does them every weekend. So you guys will probably cross paths one day.
I'm sure. I think I've seen some of the name or the branding kind of cross paths. It's cool, man. Like, that's the nice part is most people are doing just have the camera point at you, do that sort of stuff. We can do actual drop-ins of videos. If there's live news happening and somebody's tweeting it out, we can bring it on the show.
That's pretty awesome.
Guests. So I just try to make it so that it's always a little bit different from what everybody else is doing because I think anybody can put a camera on them and just go like, hey, this is a punch. I'll tell you guys, this is a real good punch. I punched like this back in 1932. Like, that's an easier version of it to me. But I think what really makes it fun is when we do these things, we've been doing like traveling versions of it. So we've taken it on the road to different gyms. Just this week, we did one at my buddy's place at his gym. And I told them, bring on the fight team, like bring on your guys. And some of them have fights. So in between fights, you're asking like, tell me about this. Oh my God. And then because you're on for 3 hours or more, magic happens where behind the scenes, he's getting crunk enough where he wants to wrestle with somebody. And I'm like, please don't. And he's only doing it because he's like, I want to prove to you how good of a wrestler he is. I can't take him down. Watch, I'll do it behind you. And I go, you don't have to do this. You do not. Okay. And so then it becomes something that you kind of meme and have some fun with. So
I think that's such good marketing to travel around like that, just because now like everyone in that gym that day knows that you're going to do that podcast.
Yes.
Have that Fight Companion.
Well, also we have friends who are asking to get on the next ones, and that's good. I like that. But I wanted to start you because I think it all started really with pandemic, where you weren't watching things with people. So I wanted to make people feel like they were watching them as a community. And
Yes.
we would send like a Zoom link, and people would all be watching at the same time. And for the early part of the pandemic, it was fun. Then I started doing them solo because I couldn't in good faith be like, hey, it's the 15th weekend in a row. You guys are still with me. And as a result of that, we'd bring on a changing panel every few weeks to be like, oh, hey, I want 2 people this week. Oh, hey, next week it's me solo. Next week it's 5. But the gyms was always in the mindset. The pandemic just pushed it back.
Yes.
And now that I can go out and I can visit these gyms, the previous 3 fight companions were done at gyms very close to me that are my good friends. And I felt like each of them had something really cool and unique to do. So there's a large part of me that goes like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to feel like. And some of the guys who are like, I don't really want to be on camera, I'm like, I bet you will. Like, just sit back with me. I'll take care of you. I'll make sure you look good. And before you know it, a lot of the guys were like, I was scared to come on later on and tell you, like, when's the next one?
And they are like massively fun. Like it's for me, I can't really do like too many like lives just because I'm so like really, really busy. Like to make this time out today, I was probably supposed to be commentating like over like a lifting video today. But yeah, they're fun and there's like a like crazy amount of value. What's like the biggest gym that you've gone to do one of these?
Oh, well, now we're just starting. So I would say right now we're still in the early phase. But I think the next few ones that we're looking, like we had a homie who offered up his place in New Mexico. And I'm out in California and I go, okay, let me figure out what we can do.
It's kind of deep.
But I tell people all the time, it's like the whole purpose is, now I've got all these little nifty gadgets. Like I essentially have, I don't know if you can see this, but this is my new toy.
That's pretty sick.
It's not bad, but it's a sound mixer that allows me to take the show on the road, lights, all that sort of stuff. So when I show up at these places, I do the setup myself. And we're talking like I've literally brought my own chairs and tables because I want to make sure they're level. And, I've been to places where I go, hey, do you guys have chairs or a table? They're like, yeah, we'll just sit on a bag here. And we'll just do this. And I go, this is no. I need a very specific
setup.
But yeah, now that we're taking on the road, you're also seeing me do a little bit more interviews on at different venues. So now I'm actually taking this stuff to go to the actual athletes and actually go and interview them. And then I train with them beforehand. So we roll that as exit roll for the show.
Are you training jiu-jitsu and striking as well, or just primarily?
I think I should probably keep it just jiu-jitsu because I think if I give these guys the opportunity to really punch me, I think I'm a little bit of a smart ass in that sense.
Yes.
But honestly, man, I've been really fortunate in that a lot of the people who have become really close with our show over the years have extended invites for me to go jiu-jitsu with them. They've extended invites for me to, come and they'll hold pads. I've been pretty lucky in that regard. So I've learned over the years not to say no to that sort of stuff because at first I was like, nah, you don't have to do that for me. And then at a certain point, I'm like, this dude is holding pads for me. Like this dude is a savage fighter. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. It's like, who the fuck am I? So I've tried to say yes as much as possible.
No, it's good. You got to take the opportunity while you can, and then just a different version of fighting. I don't know anything about striking, so definitely out of my realm.
I mean, I think the nice part is one of my buddies, so Strength Mobility, the gym that we just hosted it at, they're watching right now and they send their best. But yeah, it's, I'll say this. I've trained more striking over the years because of that very reason. And it is super nice that they go out of their way to do it. I'm actually teaching jiu-jitsu at my buddy's MMA gym. And he has been a big, big help in saying like, hey man, I'll hold pads for you. The guys will work with you. So they're more of a striking gym to the point where when I go to their open mats, most of them are boxing. Oh, wow. And then I'm over to the side. I've got like a little area to me where it's all like jiu-jitsu'd out. And some of the guys, they'll see it. They'll be like, hey, man, what is that? I'm like, do you want to roll? And they're like, yeah. And I go, okay, cool. And they know that I'll keep them safe. So for the most part, when they come over to roll, I'm like, you know, I'll teach them something. So now that they have classes there, it's really dope to do.
That's a good balance. Yeah, like my first school was MMA, but my school now is like purely jiu-jitsu, so we never get to see like the striking side, but you always definitely have like that curiosity to it. So I kind of like wish my school was like maybe had some like striking in it, but at the same time it's like, well, at least it's just we could just focus on one thing at a time. But it's always good to get a mix. I definitely want to definitely something I would definitely try out just to have that ability.
Yeah, and I would say this. I think the bigger your page becomes and the more you're traveling around, don't be surprised that when you put up somewhere like, hey, I'm in this place for a week or I'm here for the weekend, you know, you put those polls up, you're going to find that people are going to go, I really like your work. I really want you to come visit our gym. And some of them may be striking at their gyms. And don't be surprised. And I mean, I think that's the biggest note I can give you in terms of interacting, because you do excellent interaction with fans, but it doesn't sound like you're traveling a ton yet. But I think that this sport, especially as you grow, you're gonna, if you're doing commentary and other stuff, you're gonna get sucked into doing these other things, and you'll find some of those best experiences coming from your fans and those interactions that you do on your stories.
I've had two people from Florida. Like, there's this one guy I always post his videos. His name is Drew. He's told me I could always go down to his gym. And then this guy named Kevin Harrison. He runs the Arte Suave Cup in Florida. He wanted me to go down and help out with his event. I think go commentate. But it's just cool. Like, yeah, I would love to just go down for a weekend, train with different kind of people. Because like at my gym, we don't cross train at all. Like that's like one of the things that we just don't cross train. Like I have not cross trained in like 2 or 3 years. I've only just trained with like the people in my gym. And we definitely just gotten like much better. Like I'm a very like hardcore focus, like to study jiu-jitsu as much as I can. And like, luckily we do have some like newer people joining the gym, but yeah, just to cross train. Like today might be the first time I cross train in like 2 years, which is definitely something super exciting just to see like a different style.
Man, that's crazy. I would tell you this. I have gotten my best training through cross training. And, yeah, I love my home gym, but they know your tricks.
They do, yeah, for sure.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you can definitely get better, but it's for me in my journey, I picked a specific gym that because I was already doing the podcast when I was really into this, it was me looking at them and saying like, I need a gym that's going to be okay if I go to different places because like I said, if somebody calls me up and says, hey, Raph, do an interview here, I'm not going to tell them like, no, I can't. I'm sorry. Like, weird Jim Boogaloo vibes. Like, nah, dude, I think it's very beneficial. So if I'm you, I'm hearing you can go to an open mat or you're traveling a little bit, you know, utilize those times, man, because everybody has a different situation. Everybody has different beliefs. I'm not here to tell people what to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Do. I think it's hugely beneficial. Like to cross train, I just don't do it.
Well, again, I would say, you know, if you get the opportunity to.
Oh yeah, I'm taking it for sure. That's definitely a reason why I want to kind of go to the seminar tonight because I don't cross train ever. So it just could, even if I get my ass kicked, which I probably will get my ass kicked, like that's gonna be good. I'm gonna learn like different styles. I'm like, man, like how the fuck did he just do that? Asking questions.
So number 2, I'm gonna ask you this. I got a couple questions here. The first actually is a comment that said from Blanca Marissa Garcia. It said, I really like his work. And the second part is that a gamer chair?
This is a gamer chair. I don't really game too much, but this chair is mad comfortable.
I was about to say, look at this nerd over here going, yeah, I don't game a little bit. I just have the chair. It's up there.
Oh, you missed it. Look, I could just go like this. I'm going to come back up with it.
Very, very nice. You know how to...
I got the PS5. I got my PS5 hookup over there.
Oh, look at that. Look at you. You do... Yeah, exactly. You do game. If you have a PS5, I think that qualifies.
Yeah, but I barely game. Like, dude, like, I didn't... Like, I think I was supposed to play, like, Fortnite last night. My friend's like, oh, let's go play some Fortnite. I also, Tyler Pass, I might be going to Essential Jiu-Jitsu, which is JT Torres' school, on March 12th, which is my birthday. He's at an Andre Galvao seminar there. But yeah, what's the other question? Do you have 2 questions?
Yeah, I'll come back to that in a second, but I want to stick on this Essential Jiu-Jitsu. If you go to Essential Jiu-Jitsu, you will somehow have trained with JT Torres before I have, and I would highly suggest that.
I already trained with JT Torres.
You already did? How'd you do that? Oh, wow, look at that. Wait, how do you have a photo of it? And a high-res photo, nonetheless.
So I used to work at FedEx, and they did, like, posters and banners. And so this guy here is JT Torres' first coach.
Yeah.
he's one of my professors. So we have two professors in my school. So when we went to the seminar, like we didn't realize like how close they were. So then when he came, like they like hugged each other immediately. Like they're in the midway through the seminar, just like, yo, you were my first coach ever. Like not like I don't think there was a black belt at the school. It was just like this guy here. So he told him to go to what did this guy train in New Jersey? Something Clemente, not Clemente. I forgot whoever. But that guy Baxter, his name is James Baxter. He told him to go train at some place in New Jersey, and then from New Jersey he met I think Wilson Rees, went down to Maryland, and then trained in California, and then came to New York. But yeah, JC's the man. My friend who's in the comments below, he wrestled with him, which is pretty cool as well. JC's one of my favorite jiu-jitsu practitioners for sure. I love his style, very heavy passing pressure. And he probably had one of the best seminars I've ever gone to. There was about 40 people that went. It was crazy.
That's awesome, man. No, JT's an old school homie for us here on the show. We date back to interviewing him, I think right before like Metamoris and stuff. And he's just always such great positivity and like the nicest savage that I know. And every time between him and Gary in a semifinal, I'm always like, Mo, make it a final. Like
that should have been a final.
Every time he brackets that, and Mo does a very good job on the bracketing. But I'm always like, bro, the fact that this is in a final is faulty for bracket.
There's going to be part 3, hopefully this year. I'd like to see part 3, man.
Wouldn't doubt that at all. Hey, man, I know we got to get you out of here in a second, but I wanted to start closing up things by saying a few things. Number one, again, you're doing good work, man. And there's a reason why I wanted to start doing these things to get to know people better who I mostly just know through interactions on Instagram. And if I pull you on, usually it means like I've paid attention to your stuff. I like it. But that memeing is usually a very mean atmosphere. And the people who resonate with me and the people who will really, really like make me impress are the people who can make me laugh without being a dick. And I think you really, really succeed at that. I think that you are on the track of becoming even bigger very, very soon. So I'm very happy that we got an opportunity to get to know each other.
Oh, dude, thank you. Like, yeah, definitely. Just trying to keep positive vibes. I mean, like, the world is a very, I don't want to say negative place, but there could be a lot of negativity if you let your mind go through that. I do social media for work, so I'm on my phone all day. So you got to keep positive. I'm a very positive guy. In person, out person. Like, do I like some dark memes? Absolutely. But like, some people don't like that. So definitely keep up the positive energy 24/7, man. Like, if you could make someone smile, then you might as well do it.
Absolutely. So, open invitation if you make it on out to LA. Are you going to ADCC trials though?
In April, I think so. I keep telling myself. So two of my friends are doing trials. One got 5th place in women's plus 66, or whatever it was. Like she lost to the person who got 3rd place, and like that was her last match, and that was the other girl's last match. And then my friend, he's going to do probably minus 99. He pulled Pat Downey first round, almost armbarred him. So I think he'll do well his second time around, and hopefully they both win it. So yeah, I'm going to try to fly out there, but I already got my tickets. We already got the plane tickets to regular EDCC, but are you going to be out there? Because then that gives me more of a reason to go out there. my other man, Raph.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's going to depend on where we do the Fight Companion. There is some talk of doing a Fight Companion series out for the big ADCC in Vegas.
Do it. So I support it.
It's something we've discussed, but it's also going to be like I've got a nice little crew of people that help me with those shows because the big ones are way harder for me to do on my own. That's like 12 hours. So I've got a nice little crew, and I like to be really good to them and say, like, what do we want to accomplish as a team? Do we want to be there? Do we think there's a strategic value? Because we have friends out there who would probably host it for us and let us use their gym. But, I've already been it's already in talks on my side. But I think for ADCC trials, because I know so many people who are going to be competing and who I've been training with to get them ready, I may go for that one. So we're up in the air on it. But if I am in the same place that you are, either if you're in LA or you're out in Vegas, I would love to get in some rounds with you, man.
Oh, absolutely. And then same here. If you're ever around in this area, I'll definitely talk to my coach and this guy's the man. Like, we got to let him train. He'll be like, hell yeah.
Appreciate that, man. Well, let me let you get on out of here, dude. I appreciate you. Other Rafael.
Other Rafael.
What is this? Were you turning into Harry Potter now? Like,
I
what the
got this
shit's going
hoodie,
on?
yo. This cold in New York, man. Shout out to the American Eagle for making this warm ass hoodie.
Oh, Jesus.
And shout out to Green Peaks for being the best vegan protein ever.
Well, man, we're not trying to get you sponsored right now, so I'm going to let you get out of here.
I'll see you, homie.
Pleasure. We'll talk to you later, bud.
Peace. Thanks, man. That was awesome.